Hey guys, this is Anastasia Fire, and this is another car session for the YouTube Pagan Challenge. This video is about, do you have a spirit or totem animal? The way I view spirit versus totem animals is a spirit animal for me, and again, that's all I can really talk to is how I view it or what I see in it. The way I view spirit animals, not to say anyone else does or should, is that they are a temporary messenger. So let's say you're driving around and you see a deer, and all over the place, you know, you go on Facebook and there's all these posts that have deer in it, and you go watch TV and there's a deer and there's deer and there's deer, and people are talking about deer when you're around, and just it's an animal that keeps revealing itself to you over and over and over. And at that time, usually it's a good idea to kind of take a look and see what the deer may represent, what it could mean for you. There's probably a lesson in that meaning for you at that time. But usually a spirit animal for me is something where I am currently in a situation where a lesson from that animal is going to help me. Perhaps there's an obstacle I need to overcome. Perhaps there's a question that I keep asking the universe. Perhaps I'm in a bad spot in a certain way. Or maybe it's just another step that I need to take in my practice. It could be just a completely, I'm in a good place, but let's go better, so to speak. So yeah, that's what a spirit animal is to me. And what a totem animal is that is an animal that is with you long term. I see it as a pretty permanent fixture. That animal has its meanings for you. It usually ties into aspects of your own personality. Sometimes these are aspects that we need to embrace more. Sometimes these are aspects that are just undeniably us, and it just kind of keys us in a little bit more to our higher beings, our higher selves. I see them as a pretty permanent thing. Totem animals, I know I have spoken with some people and heard some people refer to their have an issue or have a problem that they kind of come up against, kind of like what a spirit animal would do, but it's such a traumatic experience, or it's such a huge part of their life that animal, even if it was relatively temporary, it was such a big impact, it left such an impression that they still hold to it as a totem animal. I have heard of that. I haven't experienced that as of yet in my life, but I totally see that would be valid as well. But then again, I'm one of those people that think everything is valid. As long as it resonates with you, you're kosher. Let's see. But otherwise, yeah, I see a spirit animal being kind of a temporary messenger, whereas a totem animal is a permanent guide or messenger for you. For me, I do have a totem animal, and that is a wolf. And I know so many people have wolves. For me, I've always loved wolves. My ancestors on my father's side were Romani Gypsy descent, and they were paganistic, and my dad always had this running joke about how, because everyone in my family loves rare meat, like the bloodier the better in this family, and he would always say, oh, it's the wolf in us. And you have those, you know, horror movies where it's always the gypsy that gets bitten by the werewolf and this and that. So werewolves and wolves have always been a fixture in my life. I've always loved them. I've always felt very connected to wolves. And also, they're just adorable. Come on. Even if you're a cat person, a little wolf pup is so cute. And I love cats too, but a wolf pup is pretty much adorable. As are little kittens too. I just love animals. But anyway, wolves I've always connected with. I've always loved them. And then one night for a while I was really pushing the universe, as I'm wont to do. I want to know my totem animal. I want to know my totem animal. And I was praying and meditating and this and that and the other thing. And I'd have a couple of visions about a wolf, but because I am who I am and I like to logic everything, I need to stop. When I would have visions of wolves, I would go, well, that's like my favorite animal. It's top three in no particular order are wolves, otters, and bats. Those are the three. And so anytime I would have, I didn't really have any visions of otters or bats, but if I saw a wolf, I would instantly go, yeah, well, that's one of my top three animals. So of course I'm going to want it to be a wolf. And because I want it to be a wolf, I can't trust that it is until some higher being shows it to me. Pretty sure that is not how this works, but luckily Cernunnos took pity on me and decided one night when I was just dreaming, everything dealt with Cernunnos in my dreams, like mad Cernunnos energy. I had a dream where I was running from these three boys, and or men. They were men, they weren't boys. Three men, and I had this moment of clarity where I realized if I didn't get away from them, I was going to die. It was a survival issue. And I called out to Cernunnos, and he appeared, and he had this very long cape on. Not cape, more like a cloak, because it was all encompassing, and in his arm like this, which of course drew the cloak over his whole front side. And I turned to pass him, and right as I turned to pass him, he opened his arm so that his cloak opened and you could see him, and from the sleeve, not sleeve of the cloak, but from the interior lining of the cloak, for lack, that's really the only way I can describe it, this smoke came out, and the smoke became the shape of a wolf, and then it materialized into a huge brown wolf. And the wolf, a couple of the boys, guys, men, what have you, ran away in my dream, but one kept pursuing me, and the wolf chased him and actually killed him. And I never really thought of it much until I started preparing this video, actually, until I started practicing in my car, as I want to do. I started talking about this, and it kind of hit me that really frightened me. The fact that my totem animal killed another being, and especially a person. And I don't know why that strikes me, because if I see an animal on the side of the road, I go to tears just as I would hearing about someone dying. But it really, I didn't really connect it at the time. I think I was probably a little too excited and giddy over the fact that I knew what my totem animal was finally. But then when I reflected about it, and that's one of the reasons I love doing YTpagan Challenge, because it makes you reflect on things that maybe you didn't take the time to really pause and think about earlier on in your path. Because everything's just so damn exciting. But it really got to me. It really bothered me. And I hit on a message while I was, again, preparing this video. I was like, you know, the thing that really gets to me about that, it isn't that it happened. It's that, well, I mean, it is that it happened. But it's more the knowledge that for me, in my belief, in my practice, a totem animal is part of you. Whatever the totem animal, a lot of times what my totem animal does for me, or does, period, reflects something that is within me as well. And I am a person, I hate violence. I do. I can't, to the point where I cannot watch war movies. I can't, battles and fighting, which is actually very odd considering some visions I've been having lately. But yeah, just violence and combat and death, I struggle with super bad. And my totem animal revealed to me that I am capable of hurting someone, let alone killing someone. And maybe, and I'm like, that's a bit too literal. Like, I'm sure it was more of a metaphor or what have you, but even still, even just telling someone, you know, you're dead to me, like, that just is, like, stunning in like the most terrifying and horrifying way. It's heartbreaking. And I kind of sat with that for a bit, and I thought of it, and I'm like, you know, if it is a case of life or death, if it is a case of me or someone I love, like my daughter, if someone were to try to kill my daughter, yeah, no. It then becomes an issue of defense, and I will defend until the death, if it means saving her. And that, I believe, was what that message was that I need to trust in my instincts, because instinctually, I am a survivor. I will live. I am a fighter. And I think the timing of this realization is actually very, very witchy, because I'm really going through a lot of analysis of my spiritual path, and kind of looking to things that have taken place in the last few months, feeling a huge, like a severance, a complete and utter severance between my goddesses that I have worked with, one of which was, you know, I dedicated myself to Hel. I was hers, and suddenly there is just absolutely nothing. And now I'm being bombarded by warrior images and scenes from battles, and if you follow me on Facebook, you know all about this. But all of this warrior energy has just been engulfing me lately, and honestly, I've been like, no, that's not me. Like, in no way is that something I want to resonate with. That's just, no, nobody's home. I got nothing for you. And so when I was planning this video and kind of going through what I wanted to talk about, and I came to the dream part, because I knew I had to explain that, and I had that realization of, oh my God, my totem animal killed that man. And it, yeah, it's all in a dream, but that reveals to me that I'm capable of that. And would I really be capable of hurting someone? Would I be really capable of causing harm? And the realization was, I do have that warrior energy. I do have that fighter instinct when the stakes are high enough. When it's a case of me or someone else, or my daughter or someone else, and that someone else is hurting her or harming her or about to kill her or me, or when it becomes an issue of defending, that is when the warrior mode kicks in for me. And that is true literally, so like physically, I would imagine I haven't been put in those stakes yet, luckily, but I have had to let go of a lot of friendships that were proven to be very toxic and could have been deadly if I had kept them. Emotionally, spiritually, definitely spiritually. A couple of them just rocked me to my core. But I fought back. And that's, I guess the point is, our totem animals, in my opinion, will show us things about ourselves, and we may not like what they're showing us, but if we sit down and really think and interpret it for ourselves, I don't think it's something you can go to anyone else for and say, hey, this is what happened in my dream. You can get their opinion, and maybe that opinion, like, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. If it resonates with you, awesome. But it has to be something you have to really take in and think about and ponder and interpret for your own self, because that's where the message is initially coming from. And that's true of spirit animals, it's true of totem animals. Whatever messages and signs, period, in the universe, whatever signs or messages we receive, they go through us. They're part of us. So, yeah, blessed be.